Hey, what's up everyone? This is Brancer SF4, or Brancer for short. And I'm actually back from my BC trip, and I actually had a pretty good time. I did a lot of things in BC. Went to places I sort of never been to before, but they were actually pretty nice places, although one of them was a kind of a disappointment though. Oh, but I had a good time. I went to the Kicking Horse Resort. It was actually a pretty good place, and I did a lot of good stuff with it. However, this video is not to talk about my little trip with my mom. What I've been doing is that on my mom's laptop, we've been using Wi-Fi connections from 3 hotels we stayed in, one in each different town. And I was keeping an eye on news related to Nintendo, mostly game-related news related to Nintendo. And apparently there's been quite a lot of news going on for the past 5 days that happened. Mostly revolving Wonderful 101, Nintendo's announcements of their console and upcoming games, and that's pretty much the news related to that, and they covered a lot of stuff actually, so... And for those who might be wondering about the games content related to the PS4 and the Xbox One, they did announce that the PS4 will be coming out on November 15th, even there, but nobody's not sure. But people believe that the Xbox One might actually be coming out 2 weeks before the PS4. Yeah, but like I said, I didn't pay much attention to those games though. I mostly paid attention to Nintendo Wii U news. And so I want to talk about that. And there's one other news I saw related to PIXAR, so I'm going to make it a two-part video where the first part I'm going to talk about the Nintendo news. And the second part I'll be talking about that PIXAR news that I just looked up, and this has been happening. This actually was marked about a couple days ago, actually, and it's still going on even to this day. So I actually want to point it out. But like I said, I'll mention the PIXAR news in the second part. So let's go ahead and mention the Let's go ahead and mention the Nintendo news for this part. The first thing I want to talk about, which is pretty much bad news, I say. Actually, but it's the only bad news I would say for at least for Wonderful 101, I say, and it's actually the sales numbers for Wonderful 101. And keep in mind, this was a few days ago as well. What happened was that in Japan, Wonderful 101 was ranked as the 14th best-selling game during that week or day in Japan. Now, you might think, that's not really bad. Now, like, how many copies did it sold actually to get to the 14th spot, actually? Apparently, it only sold more than 5,200 copies in Japan on that day it came out on August 24th. Which, I think to some people that sounds very disappointing, though. But if you actually think about it, though, how big is Japan, actually? Not that huge. It's like twice smaller than Australia. Actually, I think it's probably one of the smallest countries in the world, actually. In that, if you ignore some of the islands and that are also in the ocean, but they're part of the same of a country in that, so they don't really count though. If you just count by country-wise, Japan is pretty much like one of the smallest, if not the smallest country in the world. And there's not that many people live in Japan. I think if I remember, I think there are only over 1 million people in Japan. Now, keep in mind, I'm not factually right on this, though. This is just a guess, though. I don't know the population of how many people live in Japan, though. So it's just a speculation, but I'm just guessing probably over 1 million. I'm thinking. So basically, Wonderful 101 only sold over 5,200,000 copies. To which some people thought maybe this game was going to be a system seller, because you think about it, it's made by Platinum Games, who is also in the middle of making Bayonetta 2. And this is being directed by the same guy who directed Bayonetta, Devil May Cry, and Okami, and Beautiful Joe. Well, Hideo Koyami, I think his name is. I don't... Sorry about that, people. Sorry, this says my grandma was stuck on the phone, but I'll try to cover it. Anyways, quite honestly, in Japan, that's not terrible, though. I'll admit it may sound disappointing. though. But it's actually not, but I don't think that's not terrible though. But like, true, its sales is bad in Japan, but I don't think it's not terrible. Like I said before, Japan's a very small country. And only 30,000 units were actually shipped to Japan due to pre-orders. And other than that, even UK had the same similar problems. It was Wonderful 101 for some reason was not selling very well in UK. But this is not really the first game that Platinum Games has made that had this problem. Apparently from what I looked up, their previous games, like Beautiful Joe, Devil May Cry, Okami, Bayonetta, those games too did not sell very good in Japan either. They also didn't sell UK. In fact, the only country that they mostly sold the best at was North America, or pretty much any other country outside the UK, Japan, and Australia. Yeah, those are the only. Mostly those three countries are usually the ones that have the worst sales of the game. Any country outside of that, and quite honestly though, doesn't really have that problem. They mostly sell good outside of those three countries. Which I find kind of ironic, considering that the designs are mostly targeted to Japanese audiences, even though they do look good. But anyways, we're not going to talk about that. That's pretty much the news related to the Wonderful 101. I don't know how it's going to sell North America. However, I actually did try the demo, and I actually liked the demo a lot. And I'm looking forward to the game actually now. And I think the game might be pretty good in game for Platinum Games. So that's actually Wonderful 101 I want to point out. Now let's talk about Nintendo actually, because honestly, there's a lot of good news for Nintendo this time. Although there's this one news thing, I find it's just really stupid and weird to be honest. Actually, let's get that out of the way. The one news they announced it, which possibly might be the stupidest, weirdest news I've ever heard from Nintendo do. Actually, they announced it the Nintendo 2DS. Now, if you know what the 2DS is, let me get my 3DS. It's pretty much a 3DS, but with no 3D slide on it. And all it pretty much is like a flat, I want to see if I could get something here as an example. Okay, I got one. It's pretty much like a flat console with no way to bend it closed. It's pretty much like flat. It's a flat game that plays 2DS games, backwards compatible with your DS games. It's supposedly, for what they mention, it's supposed to be meant for the children to use, because if you think about it, the 3DS actually has you gotta think about it, the 3DS has that 3D effect that basically causes you to get headaches and that stuff. And so I think what they're trying to do with the 2DS is that because some of their child gamers don't like the 3D and they wanted to get rid of it, and so Nintendo decided to add a solution by making Nintendo do 2DS, and so that's what they did. But here's the thing I find stupid. They can turn it off either by just pulling the slide off, or number two, just turn on the parental controls. That's all you have to do. You just turn on the parental controls and keep the 3D turned off at all times. That way their children don't experience that problem. No. And so I find it kind of stupid in Nintendo to do that, quite honestly, though. Because quite honestly, the point of releasing this 2DS thing seems stupid, though. Which I have a feeling only children are going to get, because I think most older gamers such as myself are probably just going to keep the 3DS in that. So, they announced it, I don't remember the release date for it, I completely forgot about that. But I definitely remember they announced it that the 2DS would be coming out in either September or October for a total of $130. Not bad for 2DS, but like I said, I think it's completely pointless and stupid. But anyways, that's just the weird news. Let's get to the good news. The good news is that Nintendo's finally announced it that all their fall lineup games, it's not just all their games coming out later this year, and it's not just Wii U games, also 3DS games as well. They finally announced it that those games are going to be coming out later this year with official release dates. Not just the months it's going to come out and the year it comes out. The month, the day it comes out, the exact day it comes out in the month and in the year. If you get what I mean. Alright, so I definitely remember it correctly. I definitely remember the games correctly, so let's get started. The first game they said that's going to have a release date is is Wind Waker HD. Now, there's actually one thing that a lot of people are questioning about, and the reason I say this is actually because that Wind Waker actually has 2 release dates, if you could believe it. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, you're talking about European release date, Japan release date versus a North American release date? How's that suspicious? That's not the suspicious. It actually has 2 release dates in North America. Now you might be asking, what are you talking about? They announced that Wind Waker HD is actually going to be available on September 20th, 2013 as a downloadable digital game. Now I know you might be wondering, wait a minute, a downloadable digital game? What are you talking about? Isn't the retail game also coming out that day too? Nope. Here's when the suspicion comes in. The retail disc version actually comes out on October the 4th. Yes, I'm not kidding you. Now you might be asking to yourself, wait a minute, if that's official, then okay, that might be reason. Oh, there's more news to this. Let me explain what I mean. Nintendo made this announcement that, which is a lot of people speculated that they were going to do it, and I too was expecting that they will do it. They announced that the Wii U is officially going to have a price cut by $50 starting on September 20th. That's the same day that the downloadable digital version of Zelda Wind Waker HD will be coming out for a digital download. And they even announced it that Zelda Wind Waker is actually going to have a bundle pack with the Wii U. Basically, the Wii U Game Pass can have Zelda artwork on it in the package. From what they explained in that, the bundle pack will include a download digital code for Wind Waker HD. When you buy the Zelda Wind Waker bundle pack, and then you'll be able to get the game absolutely as early as you can. However, they even announced it that if you pre-order the packaged version of the game, now, actually, I prefer calling it retail version because that's retail version. They announced it on the retail version of the game that if you pre-ordered it from GameStop or maybe EB Games, well, they said GameStop, but quite honestly, EB Games and GameStop are like the same exact store. They're owned by the same company, for Pete's sake. But anyways, they announced that if you pre-order from either GameStop or EB Games, you get a Ganondorf figurine, which is probably the Ganondorf of Wind Waker. And that could be very interesting. So it's a little suspicious though, but I think this sounds pretty neat though, because that way people who want to get Wind Waker HD can actually get it early if they get the downloadable version. Although I can probably see that if people who own a Wii U want to get Zelda Wind and get it early, they would have to get the bundle pack if they want to get the Zelda artwork, especially the game, as early as they can. But it's like I said though, I do find it suspicious though, but I think for those who do want to get a Wii U for the game and want to get it early, that's probably a good thing. So, anyways, the next game they announced it is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. They announced that it comes out on December the 6th, 2013, for a total of $50. Now you might be wondering, didn't they say that it was going to come out in November 2013? Yes, they did. They announced it for the past couple months. However, they decided to release it in December this time. I don't know why, but I guess maybe it could be development things that they have to fix or something like that, but who knows? Who knows? There's also Super Mario 3D World. They announced that Super Mario 3D World will be coming out on November 22nd, 2013, just a week before Black Friday comes in, actually. To a total of $60. Now, I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of weird that how Super Mario 3D World is $60, but Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is only $50. I find it kind of a bit suspicious, though. I should be honest, though, but anyways, let's continue on. They also announced that Wii Party U will be coming out on October 25th, 2013, and it will also include the Wii Motion Plus gamepad with the game in that. So just to let you guys know. And they announced that 2 other games will be coming out holiday season, but they never mentioned the release dates for it. The 2 games that I'm talking about is Wii Fit U and Smart and Sonic at this 2014 Sakurai Winter Games, I think it's called. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I definitely The title does sound similar to the one I'm trying to mention, but anyways, that's pretty much the Wii U game. He's in that so far. If I did miss a game and actually he in that, and you want to point it out to me, just point it out to me in the comments below, and I'll actually reply back as soon as I can in that. No, so anyways, now let's talk about 3DS games. Now the only thing I do want to point out though is that or actually there's two things I want to point out. The first thing I forgot to mention is that a lot of the third-party games that are coming out for the Wii U actually also multi-cross-platform games pretty much. Except for Sonic Lost World, which is a console exclusive that comes out October 22nd with a Deadly 6 edition. And because of the multi-cross platform, they already come out release dates of a lot of people already know, so that's why I didn't mention it, just to let you know. The same thing is for the 3DS games in there, but I'm not going to mention those because, like I said, it's the same thing with the Wii U. But anyways, let's talk about the 3DS exclusives. Now, this is kind of a bit disappointing, and the reason I say is actually because that they only said 2 3DS games this year have official release dates. Actually, and these two, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed at this. They come out the same day as Super Mario 3D World on November 22nd. And these two games I'm honestly actually also excited for. The first one up is Mario Party Island Tour, which honestly I have not seen the trailers for the game at all, but I definitely like the Paper Mario games. Although quite honestly, I do think today's Paper Mario games have gone downhill because I thought the previous ones were good and a lot of fun to play. And so again, like I said, it comes out November 22nd, 2013. And the second one, which probably is my most anticipated 3DS game this year by far, and so is my sister's, The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds also comes out November 22nd. So let's think about that. You got two 3DS games. Well, yeah, like a party game and a major Nintendo major game, 3DS, and you got a major Wii U game that could probably be a system seller for the year. And so, honestly, that's pretty much all the news that Nintendo's announced it so far. Now, I want to check the time quickly. Alright, only 7 minutes. Honestly, that's pretty much the news from Nintendo at this point. Actually, they announced it. So, let's review cap here. Wonderful 101 says has not been doing good in Japan and UK so far. The 2DS has been officially announced only for children, and honestly, I find it to be a stupid idea, quite honestly. Even though I do love Nintendo, I do criticize them for some stuff because they make stupid decisions, and I think the 2DS is a weird, stupid decision, to be honest. Then they also announced, and then there's the Nintendo Wii U Price Cut starts September 20th, and the lineup of games, and their fall lineup of games finally have release dates now. So honestly, to me, that's actually a really good thing now. Now that we know the official release dates of the fall games, I think a lot of people are now going to go pre-order these games and maybe possibly get a Wii U for this. There is, however, one thing I'm speculating about this. Now, let's actually think about this. Didn't the 3DS have a similar problem that the Wii U's having right now? Now, I know this has already been pointed out a lot by some people, especially myself, but I want to point this out. I find this suspicious. Here's the thing I want to see here. During the beginning of the Wii U console's launch lineup, it did have a couple exclusives. However, it was still not a very good launch lineup though, as it had almost no games for the next few months after, except for console exclusives, though. But it was only a couple of them, actually. But then as soon as the fall semester came up, as soon as the fall season and holiday season long, Nintendo announced a price drop for the 3DS, and then released lots of console exclusives after, and released the games that sold the 3DS like hotcakes, like were system seller games. And one of them in particular, that pretty much was the system seller for the system back in holiday season 2011, was Super Mario 3D Land, which you already know. Like I mentioned, it's actually my favorite game for Nintendo 3DS so far, unless A Link Between Worlds actually becomes that now. But this is my opinion, though. Yeah, I guess. And then right after that, they start to get more exclusives coming along the way after that. That also sold the console like crazy, the 3DS like crazy. And then eventually now, people seem to be starting to appeal to the 3DS more now. But because if you remember, when the game had almost no games, nobody bought a 3DS and called it a piece of shit because it had almost no games for it. Let's think about the Wii U, for example. The Wii U also had a pretty poor launch lineup, had no games for the next few months except for exclusives that weren't system sellers. So, gets a price cut, now all of a sudden starting September 20th, a Zelda bundle pack which the 3DS also had, and now you got a sequel to Super Mario 3D World and some major first-party titles coming out along with it this year. Gee, I wonder if the Wii U is going to be going through the same destiny that the 3DS had, where it didn't do very well for the first half of the year, but when the second half came along, its sales started to rocket up to the top charts and eventually started to get more exclusives by time, having a much bigger library of games. This may be a good sign for Wii U, maybe. I don't know, like, it's just a prediction, but I do have a feeling that Super Mario 3D World's probably going to sell the console. Because if you actually remember, when the Wii U came out in November, it was actually released a week before Black Friday. And originally, Nintendo wanted to release it during Black Friday, but because the console might be sold out way too fast and that they won't be able to get more shipments in, they decided to release it a week early. That way, they could get in more shipments in, so that way people can go buy a console during Black Friday. I guarantee you that the thing that's ironic about this is that Super Mario 3D Land was also released in November. However, it was released around the same week that, well, I'm not entirely pretty much sure though, but for what I remember, it was actually Super Mario 3D Land was actually released around the time Black Friday was about to begin. And I think because that Black Friday is a big, huge shopping spree where a lot of things go on sale, they probably decided to go get a 3DS with the game so that way their kids and even their kids or children or whatever who are fans of Mario can actually go buy the game. And honestly, to me, I think that might be a good thing because if this done right, Super Mario 3D World, in my opinion, could be a system seller for the Wii U. I think Nintendo knows that the game's going to sell, and I think a lot of people knows that the game's going to sell good. Alright? Alright, so that's it for part 1 of the game-related news, and I'll be back for part 2 as I'll be talking about a movie-related news, most namely PIXAR, and it's only one news I've been paying attention to, so I'll be right back, everyone. Time for part 2.